Hi, everybody, and welcome to Life After Death and Beyond. I'm James in Praagh, and with Kellee White, my good friend. Hello, Kellee.
Hi, James. Hi, everybody.
And this is my good friend now, Sue White. Hi, Sue.
Hi.
And Sue White, I met Sue, how many months ago? It seems like a year or so.
Almost a year ago.
It seems like a year ago. And she's a yoga, one of the many talents she has. Scorpio, we haven't looked at the rest of your planets, though.
I know, we haven't.
We have to do that. A healer, incredible healer. And I met Sue. I want to do yoga, and she's an incredible yoga instructor. Tell people your background.
Oh, I have a long background.
You have a long background.
So
a lot of retreats.
So I'm a 500-hour ERYT yoga teacher trainer, which means that I have had over 500 hours of education and training, but I also have had over 1,000 hours of teaching hours, as well as, I'm able to lead teacher trainings, and I also do continuing education workshops.
And she teaches all over the world, Kellee.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's very impressive.
One of the largest yoga gatherings once in the world. And you were like one of the heads of that.
Yep. So I say one of the pinnacle moments of what I thought was of my career is that I was invited to be a part of the Rimini Wellness Festival, or a Rimini Wellness Convention in Rimini, Italy. And it's the world's largest consumer-based fitness convention. So I did bring a style of yoga there, and they have something like 300,000 people who go through this football field by football field by football field of health and wellness and fitness regimes and programs and whatnot. So
incredible. I mean, I'm finding out these layers of Sue each time we meet. You're doing yoga and Pilates because I've done yoga for many years, but when I met Sue, and I just asked her, and she was my real estate agent. That's how we met, in real estate.
Wow.
So many facets. And we've done some. So anyway, I said, I'd love to do yoga. I'm looking for someone. She goes, I do yoga. I teach yoga. So did you really? So we've been doing that for several months now. And as soon as, after a while, me, a little sensitive. So it's Sue. And I said, you're more than a yoga teacher, because Sue gets into all this energy and flow work of the body and breathing. And I'm like, this feels really, really good. And I said, this is different than any yoga class I've ever taken. I said, you're a special person. And she's very humble. And then she told me about her background and so forth. I said, wow. So when I do a session with Sue, you have an idea she'll come to my house and say, well, let's see what we have to do today. And she tunes in, doesn't even do it consciously, does it?
Yeah. Well, I just ask you, how are you feeling?
I bet James is easy to work with.
He's very easy.
We laugh. We mostly laugh.
Yeah.
It's funny. But you said I am the most flexible guy she's met, which I think is really good.
He is.
Wow.
He's highly mobile, like for any man.
So great.
Yeah.
So I said, I wanted people to meet you and to experience you. And I said, I don't really do retreats or, connections with people, but I said, I'd love to work with you because you have a lot to offer people. And I think together would make a great team doing my specialty and mixing your specialty together. So we did 2 retreats, kind of quasi retreats. Mm-hmm. You was really your retreat, and I just jumped in for meditation.
Yeah, you're our special
special guest. And it was really amazing. And I'm very observant of how you teach a group. And I was really, and we did it once on the ocean, Kellee, down in Solana Beach, California. That was great. And I have pictures of a little girl doing it, doing little stances and poses. And then we did it again at a friend's house, at Sue's friend's house. And it was incredible both times. But every time I see Sue teach, and that's me as well, there's always something different. There's always something intricate. There's always like, wow, I never thought of things that way. I never realized the body could do that. And I feel so released with certain things. So we decided, I said, we got to do a retreat together. So we are doing a soul retreat in Maui, and that's called the Lemuria Resort. And that's July 9th through the 13th. And it's a very limited group of people. So we've sold, I think, a little more than half.
Yeah, we're over half sold, but there's still a few spots.
Yeah, some spots left. So if you're interested, I wanted to bring Sue tonight to meet everybody and to.
I think this is such an extraordinary time period to be going to Lemuria Resort. I think a lot of people will feel a certain calling about this.
Kellee, it goes into what you said, like in the past month or so, when we're talking about going within.
This is the period of time to do great healing on all levels, whether it's physical, whether it's emotional, whether it's spiritual. Is the time to do the healing. I mean, we have in Vedic astrology, we have Saturn in Pisces for the next 2.5 years. And what does that mean? It means to really go within, go do your work, so you can ultimately let go of the traumas and the illness and anything that's been holding you back from succeeding and moving forward in your life. So your timing of this event in July is perfect timing here for this.
I think it was beyond us, Kelly. You know, we know.
Totally.
These things, and, you know.
Yeah. So let's talk about the retreat. First of all, can anybody go? Is it set for anybody?
It's open for anybody. It's any
level of experience.
Any level of experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I'm there, any level of experience, trust me.
Okay.
And it's really, even if you've never done yoga before, and it's more than yoga. It's like flow work.
Yeah, the body, the yoga, the movement is just one facet of it. And the movement that I'll be doing is available to everybody, whether you're a seasoned yogi or mover or just fitness enthusiast or even just a walker. It's going to be, everyone will feel successful.
Okay.
And we're going to do it for different aspects and facets. So it's a soul retreat, and it's healing the mind, body, and spirit. So it's been one day working with the traumas of the mind, Kelly. That people hold on to a lot of that stuff in their minds. I always say the mind is the soul is the mind. And I've been, as you do, Kelly, readings a lot. And I just did a workshop the other day, and a lot of people there. And I do, the past month and a half, I've done assessments, and I've done, just scanning people. So many people carry upon their shoulders other people's energy and all this worry energy. And if it sits there and just stays there, it'll affect the physical body.
Yes, absolutely. And then they make bad decisions based on that. And then it goes into the body. I mean, it's really an interesting topic that you guys you're going to start with the mind and healing techniques then. So let's talk about some of those techniques.
Well, before we do that, Kelly, the mind, let me ask you, because you're a therapist, and if you keep things in that mind space, like I'm going to say poisons or toxins or other people's energy, which is there, invade that space. If you stay with that in that space, doesn't that affect the like neurological changes, perhaps?
It's everything. We call it the body keeps the score, because it goes into the body, and the body reacts from the toxins of the mind, of the energies of other people, of the traumas that people have experienced. Absolutely. It goes into the body.
Their memory and perception.
Their balance, everything.
The emotional being. So I've done in my work that I've done many years now, that a lot of stuff comes from energies that are not there. So part of the mind is going to be getting into that space of the mind, which is all around us, and seeing whose energy is in your space. What are you holding on to? And what is the reason behind your holding on to that energy?
Who gave you the message? Was it your mother? Was it your father? Was it a partner? Who told you this? Where did this come from? I mean, really going behind that, James, is such a great idea.
Because
so important.
You know what, Kelly? It's almost like I feel like it's a structure, and there's no foundation, or it's lopsided.
Yeah, out of balance for sure.
So that's the mind, your perception, and that's clearing away old patterns, clearing away old traumas. We're gonna do some stuff where I bring them back to a place in their childhood on.
Great.
Go backwards and start there and reprogram people, because carry other people's programs. They're society.
Yes. And there's ancestral trauma too, James. Ancestral trauma in that kind of work, and they believe that you carry 13 generations of trauma behind and 13 going forward. So you may be the one that says, I'm going to do the work to release all of this in my family, in my generations. And anybody that's listening to this, often they're the ones that are chosen to come in to do this work.
Yeah. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here right now.
And that could be abuse of all kinds. That could be poverty. That could be, there's all kinds of things that go in a family system. Alcohol addiction, you bet.
And I was looking up some stuff here that I'm going to do for the retreat. We're going to do for the retreat, and a lot of physical symptoms. People might have shaking, sweating, memory problems. It all can come back to the space in the mind that are other people's energy. And a lot of people try to heal other people, help people, and they forget about themselves. The caretakers. We know this. And,
in fact, this would be a great resort for caregivers.
Caregivers, to get in their space and their centering and know who they are as a soul.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really good. So the mind, the different techniques people can use moving forward.
Wow. Would you be doing, what kind of healing techniques would you be looking at, Sue, for your part in this?
Oh, the body is the next day. So one day the mind, and the
Okay.
next day is the body.
Okay.
And that's all Sue.
Oh, okay, great.
But even also to incorporate into the mind is having those a restorative practice that allows them to sink a little deeper into the mind and get them into the state in which they're able to help kind of release a little bit easier once you kind of, as we know, as we quiet the body, the mind will follow. It's so trying to get everybody nice and still and to be introspective and allow yourself to just release and be more open to release. But our second day.
But let me just interrupt you if you don't mind.
Yeah.
And it's all about integration. So we're going to be integrating the mind, body, spirit.
Yeah.
And as Sue said, it's so funny. We have an outline. We'll do that. We'll cover definitely things. But between the two of us, we're so spontaneous.
Totally.
Like the group would have to have, anytime you have a group, you can go into these workshops, retreats, like, we're going to cover this, and you're probably the same way. But then you get there and it changes.
Well, the group has an energy and dynamic of its own.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I love that you two can go with the flow of that.
Yeah, those things can be outlined, but they can't be programmed because people who arrive are not meant for that program. You have to shift quickly, and not even quickly, just organically. To be able to deliver what the group needs, not what you've decided the group needs.
And I've watched her teach. I've watched her do the instruction on people. And I always say to Sue, you're amazing. Just to observe you and how you easily flow and get in there. And, I think sometimes you're not even aware of what you're saying. You just, right?
Sometimes, sometimes it just comes out and I don't really know what's coming out. As it is.
So you both will be channeling.
We both will be channeling this retreat. So it's July 9th to the 13th in Maui. And we picked Lemuria. You had more experience once more.
Well, I've had friends who have had experiences there. The energies of the property apparently are incredible. It's actually, we've now learned that it's actually been built over a crystal grid.
Wow.
Yeah. So
wow.
Learned that we're like,
so great.
It'll magnify all the experiences.
Yeah.
So magnify
it will.
It'll be a life changer for people. So
absolutely.
If you want to register, it's on my website, vanpraagh.com, my last name, vanpraagh.com. And that's where you can find it. It's the only retreat I'm doing all year. That's it. Right. And us together, it's the only one we're doing. So there we go.
Oh,
but
day two is the body.
Day two is the body. And we'll be doing some more flowing style movements to help integrate that way. So I don't want anyone to think that this is like a workout. By no means. This is not a workout yoga. This is a flow to incorporate breath to movement. I'll be using some breath techniques that will incorporate movement. And I have one of my favorite ones I'm going to bring. And it's really great to do as a collective because when you get breathing and moving together, you can just feel the energy and the connectedness kind of just rise above. And it's called the breath of joy.
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah, it's really, obviously it's the breath of joy. It's uplifting. It's invigorating. This is a real type of pranayama that like I love to do in the morning because it helps you kind of start your day. It's a great time to do it kind of mid-afternoon when you have that, midday lull or brain fog. It's great because it really oxygenates the body. It kind of ignites and stimulates your nervous system. It really helps you reduce and release stress and trauma, but also to balance your mood and your emotions.
And now in the evening here, what do we do? Is it okay in the evening? And then
you can, yeah.
And then can you do like a close down or something?
A close, yes. We're going to close the evening with an ecstatic dance party that night.
No, I mean, right now.
We can do it. Let's do it tonight.
Joy?
Yeah. It's you can do it at any time.
Okay.
I just personally think that those are great times, but evening you can do it at any time. I would love to do it if you want to do it.
Do you want to do a demonstration of it?
Yeah.
Why not?
Please do one. This is great.
Breath of joy. Okay. We do yoga anyway. So
this is our yoga space. Okay. So I'll demonstrate.
I can in front. No, I want to hit you.
Okay, we won't hit each other. So I'll demonstrate. We'll just go through 3 rounds of it, but I think ideally 5 to 10 rounds are really good just to really get things moving energetically and physically through the body. So it's 3 big inhalations with a nice soft exhalation through the mouth. So it's 3 swift inhalations through the nose and then an exhalation softly through the mouth, kind of release everything down. You then incorporate movements with that. And they're just our movements and if anyone is out there who wants to do this and you're in your room or you're in a space or doesn't matter what people think, it's just once you get into it, the feeling is such a release. So it's
Good.
3, and I'll just do it once and then we'll go through it together.
Okay.
So it's a big, and then that is it. 3 breaths, big exhale. We'll do a cleansing breath to start, just to kind of ground us. We'll take a big inhale through the nose and then a big exhale through the mouth. And we'll just take those 3 big inhales and then the exhales, and we'll just do 3 rounds of that.
Okay. I just follow because I can't remember any of this.
And don't get worried or like preoccupied or think too much about which way your arms are going. It's not necessarily any certain pattern. It's just more about letting your breath be your guide. And if the arms end up somewhere else, it's totally fine. All right. So we'll take a big cleansing breath. Big inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. And then here we go. Take a big inhale. And let's close it off with a cleansing breath. Big inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. And just settle here for a moment. And maybe even after just 3 rounds of breath, you kind of just feel a little bit lighter. You can feel things maybe moving a little bit more naturally or organically throughout your body. Maybe you feel a little bit more uplifted or energetic because it is that type of breath work. So how do you feel?
Oh, I feel great. You know, it's like I'm like a massage table. Like as soon as I get on, I relax. And as soon as you start speaking, I just go this whole relaxation because I'm used to it and it's great. So yeah. Okay. That was great, right?
Yeah, that was fabulous. Oh, people are going to love this one.
This is how easy this is. Nothing.
Right.
And so I want to ask you a question. As I was doing that, and this came to my head. So breath work is so important. So how can we talk about the breath work and the body, like releasing through the breath? What are your techniques or things you found?
So in my history, if you're able to tap into your breath and really find stillness within, it just organically begins to shift things inside the body. So the more you're able to breathe, to be still with your breath, because, obviously we are all programmed as people to be go, 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 go. We do this, we have lists, we're multitasking. When you're able to slow things down, and I don't think that's what a lot of people really understand, is that you need this balance. You need the balance of your fiery masculine sun energies, those ones that are the movers. And you also need that balance of your cool feminine moon energies. And I think we're so weighted on this fiery side, this right-handed side, that we kind of forget. And we are a beautiful accumulation of both of these energies. But I think society in general is weighted in the masculine energy.
And also right now, people are in a fight or flight state. They really are in survival.
Right. So when you're able to really begin to tap in and soften into these cooling, energies, you're actually doing more good. It's the harder practice to master, because we are so not programmed to be still and quiet. So we will be doing practices of yin style movement, which is settling into the body, really.
Yin is female. Yin more female, would you say? Or no?
Yes. Yeah. Yin is cool, and soft and feminine energies. Yeah.
You just said it. You just went right in my mind. What? So Sue says a word every once in a while, it's like, that describes it. And I was going to say, and you just said it, this retreat is really about softness. Yeah. I think that's still soft. Soft would be the best way. It's soft. It's not hard. It's soft.
Well, it's really the original energy of Lemuria. Which is
it really?
Yes, which is the yin energy, which is all about the feminine and the calming and living a mindful way.
And healing as well. So Lemuria was an incredible healing place.
Yeah, incredible healing.
Mm-hmm. And, I just think also, and you probably have had this in your retreats, and I have in my connection with people in my workshops and retreats, that people meet each other and they become lifetime friends.
Yes.
So I can't even, from all the way back from my very, very, very first international yoga retreat that I led in Bali, I am still to this day such good friends, and this is to several of the women, and I still speak with them, if not see them daily.
Wow.
And it was,
Wow.
every retreat that I do, there's always typically someone who comes back, or then you created these instant bonds because you're there for similar reasons, not necessarily the same, but there's an intention behind it that you can relate with.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, these retreats are really, really
It's life changers, and
Yeah.
like-minded people come together and they go through the healing process together. And it's
So
something
true.
that that is a life changer.
Yeah.
I had a couple get engaged on one of my retreats.
Wow.
Kid you not.
Wow.
They're my favorite people ever. They are such a beautiful, and his intention was actually not have the engagement happen on retreat, but afterwards. This was one of my second retreat in Greece. And there was a big group. There was 30 of us. It was a big group. For me, that's big. And he felt so comfortable. And I was doing this photo shoot, and we did this photo shoot for all of our attendees because there's, you have the backdrop of the agency and blah, blah, blah. And he pulled it out, and all of us we were all there to witness it.
And she didn't expect it during the retreat.
She didn't expect it at all.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so it was just so wonderful, and I get goosebumps still. And they've come actually back on a retreat that I did 2 years after they actually got married. And we captured it, and we all got to celebrate together. And it was like it was so
a special moment.
Yeah.
Spontaneity, which I think is always great to have. That no expectations, go with the flow. And that's really what it is. We have certain things we want to cover, certain aspects, and we want to work with the healing aspects, but we bring in all that stuff, other people's energy and so forth. And I've had some magical times in Brazil with people. I used to bring groups down to Brazil to spiritual centers there, and for the last day, which is spirit, it's going to be a trip because we're going to use what we've done.
Let's talk about the spirit on that. This is going to be wild.
Well, I'm going to use things I've learned when I was in Brazil at different spaces there. When I worked with physical mediums, and I worked with I brought a group down there. We went to Frei Luiz Center, and I never told this story. It's a good one. It's in one of my books, and it was a center where there's adoption or orphanage basically, and it was very poor people and the old children. It was children, very much so. And what happened was it was 200 mediums.
Oh, wow.
And not only they're mental mediums like I am, but they're physical mediums, which means things can appear and so forth. And what we did was they once a month they go to a place, a house on the hill in their property there. It's all kind of run down, and house on the hill, but they reserve this house on the hill for physical mediumship, which means that physical mediumship is when a spirit can manifest in different ways. And for this experience, what it was it was so wild. They said, "James, would you like to come to this? Because this is a rare thing." And I said, I've only rarely seen physical mediumship, like this type of mediumship. So I said, we would be honored if you'd come and be part of this. I said, oh, okay. So I had to leave my group in one part of Brazil and go for the weekend to this in Rio. And I got there at 5 o'clock in the morning. You have to wear white cotton clothes 48 hours before you can have any red meat, no alcohol, no sex. I had no problem with any of that. So got there at 5 o'clock, and you sit for 2 or 3 hours, and you really don't talk to people. So kind of like a little theater, but kind of like that form. And you just sit and you meditate or do whatever, and you'll hear lovely music. And then I noticed around 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm looking at the stage thing, and there are vapors or wisps of smoke. And like, what's going on here? And I sat down, and everyone's sitting down, and then you see these wisps of smoke, and it builds up. I'm like, am I seeing feet? Is that a medical jacket like that? And it builds up, and I'm seeing the spirit manifest from the feet up, and the shoulders, chest, holding some kind of a crystal. It was like a rainbow crystal, and it was illuminated. It was moving like with light inside it. And like, wow. And then he faced him with a mask on, and you could see, but he could see this real person, spirit. And they bring up the sickest people, the kids, children, and they have like 5 kids at a time in a cot, and they bring them up. And this being, and I'm like sitting going, ah! So this being is going from each child, taking this wand and just going from part of the body, and then move to the next one. Wow. And they take them away, and they bring 5 more. And I'm sitting there going, oh. So what happened was I was thinking to myself, the mind, I said, boy, I would love to experience this. This would be great. All of us, and I said it to myself, all of a sudden they shone a light on me and said, come. They knew. I said, whoa, and I'm shaking, like, whoa. So I go up and I lie down on the cot with these 4 other people, children, I think it was. And I'm lying there, and this spirit person, and I'm nervous, Kelly, and I'm really kind of nervous. And I didn't tell you the story.
No.
Oh, it's wild. It's a wild one. So the spirit person, this doctor, comes up to me, and of course, I'm the only one probably there that would feel up the doctor to see if it was solid. I want to see if it was he was solid. He was very, very solid. And he took that, and I had my eyes kind of open, I wasn't closed. And he took that crystal wand, and he went right into my stomach, right at it. I'm like, oh, and then gone. And after that, I felt like I had surgery, right? I've had psychic surgery before.
Yeah.
So you go back and go into the kitchen, have some soup and bread, whatever. Well, then I went home 2 weeks later to LA, or a week and a half later, and I go to my doctor. And my doctor examines me. My doctor said, James, what happened to your ulcer? You used to have an ulcer. I said, I did. What you have nothing here. I said, okay, that's validation.
Wow.
Well, that was at the Fray Louis Center.
Wow.
Very rare. So I'm going to use not physical mediumship, but I'm going to use various techniques. We will use some various techniques of tuning into not only your spirit guides, becoming your spirit guides, or sharing the space with your guides. This weekend I did a grief workshop, Kelly, and it was all about, spirit gave me this exercise to tuning into the spaces around us and seeing what is out there around us, worlds around us. And it was really, really great. And people had incredible experiences. And not only from this lifetime, but other lifetimes. I'm also going to do past life regression in this trip.
Oh, wow.
Becoming aware of people's guides and manifestation guides, and also loved ones, spirit people, and different techniques of tuning into them, being blending with them, surrendering to them, and different types of a whole list of different things, manifestations and reprogram yourself, being with your higher self, and working from a higher self point of view.
Wow.
It's a full retreat.
It's an intensive 3 days.
It's an intensive 3 days.
But it really does cover the mind, the body, and the soul.
Yeah, it does. That's who we are. And then we're having one night.
So one night, part of our body night, we'll have an ecstatic dance party, because I think we all innately, as like, if you think of, a child, or, the moment you put on music, everyone, it's hard not to. And it's it's a good for connection. And it's so good just to like, almost just feel like you are having an out of body experience. Sure. And really have no judgment. There's no judgment from you, no judgment from others. It's just joyous and uplifting and connection. Yeah. So we're gonna have an ecstatic dance party.
So we have a static dance party. We have to get the playlist together for that.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So
James, you love that. You're great at this.
Forget. This week I'm actually doing, and you're going to be there. This week I'm doing an in-person workshop for 3 days with my mediumship 2 students. And anytime I have a workshop, I always incorporate dance. I always incorporate. And as Sue said, everybody feels a connection with each other. It's amazing. Every judgment goes down. I've had people come and say, that was the best part of your workshop. Really? It was so freeing, and I feel so much younger. And no one wants to leave. So everyone wants to stay in that space. So we're gonna give them some, re-entry rules. I call them, to live life in such a different way. Their whole perception will shift.
So there'll be so much transformation for people.
Transformation. And we might do, I don't know what the grounds are like outdoor meditation, right?
Oh, yeah.
At the beach or at the land, or to feel that physical, the grid, that crystal grid.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
So, and we'll have notebooks for people to journal and all that stuff.
And make sure everybody pays attention to their dreams, because during that period of time that you guys are doing such deep work, they will probably have some really amazing dreams. Could be past life dreams. It could be future life dreams. It could be, letting go of traumas. Oh, pay attention. Have them talk about their dreams. It would be fascinating to know.
And also, Kelly, it's so funny because, as you know, it's like when you open up that door of the higher self, of the worlds around of who you are, I mean, all this stuff comes through that people never expect, which is really, really
and especially at this location with you two. You've got 2 masters, and you've got a fabulous location. I mean, Lemuria.
It's a triangle.
Right. It's just perfect.
Yeah, it's
for this. So how do people sign up for this?
They go to my website. It's on my website, which is
Okay.
VAN Praagh, Praagh. It's under the events, and
Okay.
and
Great. It's
yeah.
called the Soul's Retreat.
Yeah, there it is, right down there.
Mhm.
Yeah, and a soul retreat. It's there in July. So yeah, and we're limited now. We're selling tickets, but it's a small group.
Yeah, it's going to be nice, intimate.
It'll be intimate, personalized with everybody.
And as far as traveling goes, James, really that month, July, is a great month especially to go to the Hawaiian Islands, to go to Maui. Perfect time for that.
And with the intention, Kelly, before end of healing, I'm going to. You can there say I'm going to heal my soul, whatever that means to everybody, and having that intention, and then we go there.
Yes.
It'll be great.
Just the Hawaiian Islands themselves are so healing, and the energy is like.
It's very
so
pure.
abundant, yeah.
It's very pure, very clean.
Yeah.
It's very, very true.
Yeah.
So, that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Kelly, what have you been up to? What are you doing? You're always busy, Kelly.
I've been busy. I have a retreat coming up in June myself, June 20th to the 23rd.
Tell me about that.
Well, it's with Dr. Shirley Pellizzari and Carrie Gonia, and Carrie's going to be doing Family Constellation, which is going back the 13 generations and going forward 13 generations.
I just had a session.
How was that? Was that pretty incredible?
It was phenomenal. It was
phenomenal.
I didn't know what to expect. No expectations. Right. And she had me put 4 or 5 pieces of paper on the floor.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, didn't understand any of it.
Right.
But I'm not going to tell everybody what it was because I don't want to let it out.
Right.
But it was pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, when you start to deal with and let go of family traumas from many generations, I mean, you don't realize you're carrying all this stuff, and there's so many different techniques out there to work with these things. We've got your retreat will definitely help the movement of healing, of deep healing. And I know the one that Shirley and I are doing, Shirley's going to be talking about attachment theory. She's going to be talking about shadow work, shadow work, like really going in, and somatic. Shirley's a somatic specialist, so going into also techniques with the body for letting go of trauma. And I'm going to be talking about going from the karmic place to doing your dharma work, because that's the energy that we're in right now. So really working with people to help them let go of the karma, and instead of creating karma clutter constantly, if they can get in touch, that's what I call it, karma clutter.
Love that.
Thank you. And it's a truth, James. People collect it. They collect it until they start to wake up. And then this is a period of time for the next period that we're in. It's about going into your dharma work. So this is why these kind of retreats are so important for people. It slows them down, makes them pay attention. They become aware of their consciousness, and then they make better decisions going forward. And that's your work. That's your work, Sue. That's your work, James. And that's my work. And this is all important work on Earth at this time. It's really needed.
You've said it with Vedic astrology. You mentioned it 3 months ago. Like this time you go within. And I predicted that, the energies we predicted.
Oh, yes. And, one of the things you mentioned, James, during our predictions was about the Pope passing. And of course, he passed apparently today on Monday, Easter Monday.
So Sue and I were talking about that earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think about that, Kelly? Because I was like, is it coincidence or not? And then Sue said something which again made me think.
What'd you say?
Oh, I said I think he was waiting to say his goodbyes.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I've experienced that in my own life of people almost waiting to say goodbye to specific people. And I think he needed that. I think he needed the time to be seen and to say goodbye.
Yeah, I do.
Easter letter he gave, he talked for Easter. That was, maybe that was his finally waited for that. And who knows if his higher self, right? Probably led him into that. But.
Such an important position here for humanity. So it'll be interesting. I think he'll help us on the other side. Okay. I think he was greeted by all kinds of family members and his devoted souls.
Yeah. Well, he did light work. I mean, that's what he did. He came back for. And I think it's, if everyone could just get that illuminated, just a touch that flame being lit up.
Exactly.
In whatever way, and even if it's a retreat, whatever way, or your modality, yours, different modalities of healing. And if they let themselves jump in and let themselves be connected.
Yes.
Life will be changed. I know for me, mediumship, with your book, Kelly read, and I'm not sure, Sue, I'm sure with you too, that this work or this connection of having an awareness that we're more than just this human body, we're much more, really has helped me in my life.
Oh, gosh, James, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Your work too has really probably put you in a different perspective of things, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's changed my life. Like I feel like I've done so much. As we know, we aren't who we were even a month ago, but like I feel like I have drastically changed just by doing the work. And I think a lot of people have a lot of fear about doing the work of what they're going to find, but knowing that it's fear based. It's like it's too fearful or too hurtful or uncomfortable to go through, but know that once you're on that other side of sifting through that
right
shit,
it's so true.
Lighter.
Right.
Yeah, and it affects your own personal life. No doubt about it. And what other people think of you is none of your business. Right. So that's will be a unique theme. We'll be using that a lot. And it's true of life, because some people care what other people think. You really can't do that. It holds you back from progression. And we come back on this earth to progress in all different ways. And I think it's really important to, just like I tell my mediumship students, see as many mediums as you can working. Take many classes, do as much as you can to open yourself up in different ways.
And I always say this, James, don't waste any time. Get to work now. We're only on earth for a certain amount of time at this time,
That's come up a lot lately for me, Kelly, with my students. And, we only have the moments.
That's right.
Forget about yesterday or tomorrow. You have to live fully.
Exactly. And the interesting thing about Earth, when you sign up, your soul may know how long you have, but the truth is we don't know. And so you really do need to work on your stuff. This is such an important lifetime to work out situations.
And forgiveness and get rid of resentments and guilt and so forth. We're going to cover all that in our retreat.
Good.
That. And then I want to go back to one thing, Kelly, you mentioned before, and you said it's a time of great healing in the planet. It's a time a lot of souls are going to be leaving the planet.
Yes.
And a lot of healing. Tell us more about that, if you don't mind.
Well, we've got, it's really interesting. We had, on March 29th, we had 7 planets line up in Pisces in Vedic astrology. It has never happened. Amazing. So this is a time period for the next several years that people will be diving into their deep, whatever their fears were, whatever something they didn't want to look at. Well, guess what? It's going to be present for you, not to do harm. You signed up for this lifetime so you could work through everything that you need to work through, so you don't carry the clutter with you again. This is the best opportunity that we have had on Earth to work through our situations. And it's all about the same thing: forgiveness, kindness, compassion for what you've gone through and what others have gone through. It's easy. It's not complicated, but people make it complicated.
That's right. They
buy into that. They buy into that wheel, and then they keep up with that. And this is really the golden opportunity to begin to let go and to really do healing on yourself. Not false healing, but really deep healing. And when you get to that point of deep healing, there's no more resentment. You want to have a different understanding. Your lens shifts. And that's all about this time period, is shifting the lens.
And you mentioned before, you said it's a time for a lot of souls. It's very interesting. So this morning I experienced this. We talked about it a little bit. That we've talked before about how it's a great time for healing, which it is. But there's also a mass exodus of souls at this time.
Yes.
I'm wondering, part of that healing can be letting go and goodbye physically, right?
Yeah.
Or is it those who won't do the healing work that they go? Or is it
it's those that won't do the healing work. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, you make a very good point. We're going to see a lot of people with cancer, we'll just call it this one. We'll start with this one, with cancer. Cancer is really the great awakening. It can really wake you up to, there's a limited amount of time. Who do I love? Who do I care about? I mean, it's a quick one that, can happen with cancer, but we're going to look at all kinds of things, issues. I don't know about you, James, but I'm sure we've talked about this. We have many people that are falling right now and breaking things.
Yeah, we talked
about that.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
I mean, it's the wildest thing. It's because slow down. What do you need to heal? What part of your body do you need to heal? What part of your mind do you need to heal? So this is going to be for the next several years. We're going to be looking at this.
And everything's speeding up so much.
Right, sure is.
It appears faster and quicker. And my roommate, my friend Peter.
Yes.
Cancer.
We had a great show with Peter.
Yeah. And he just left for his 8th round of chemo.
Wow.
And he's doing really great.
Amazing. That's amazing.
So,
yeah. Wow.
Pretty amazing. And he said this morning, he goes, well, you'd never believe the clinics, they're packed. He goes, they're packed for 8 hours full. Wow. And some people have to wait outside the waiting room to get into the clinic. It's amazing how many people, and all different ages.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I really think this is a lifetime that everybody said, all right, bring it on. I do. And so then they can do the work. And the work is available for everybody. I mean, your healing retreat will be a godsend and a God blessing to anybody that gets to attend.
We think so. And so I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So all the years you've done your work, I'm not going to say yoga, so much more than that. So your healing work, I'll say.
Okay.
Have you noticed that your clients were different when you first started to where they are today? And what's the differences?
Oh, no, absolutely. So another thing that I didn't mention is that I did own a studio for 5 years. And so it was a movement studio. It was a movement studio. So everything that we did was movement based. We did do some breath work and whatnot, but the community of the different walks of life that came in. And it was interesting that I actually found that we had a high percentage of people who were coming in at a point in their lives where they were maybe not necessarily lost, but they went through a major transition.
Yeah.
And they were really trying to either reconnect with the part of them that they used to know really well, or they wanted to connect to other people with like interests. And again, just like on a retreat, my best friends came out of my studio space, and they have become lifelong friends. And to know where they started, specifically people who are either moving to the area or they were splitting from a marriage or what it was, to see where they were and to see where they are now, and the transition and the transformation that they've been able to
it's amazing, isn't it?
The full, they morphed into a new, beautiful, person and life.
And I think if you go through like our retreat and it's like the intention be the art of discovery. What am I going to discover? Something new about myself I never knew before. When Kellee, I love your analogy you always use, a different lens, putting on a different lens.
Different lens, because it's what you said to say this, Sue, for you. But when you were talking about what people were going through, we are in a crisis period right now. There will be relationships that are ending. People are ill. People are passing. So this is such an extraordinary time to be able to see where you are right now with everything. And everybody will be in an interesting position. And I think you guys will have some of the best discussions with people when you're there, because you'll find, this one will say, well, I'm going through a divorce. Well, I just lost my father. It'll be such an interesting time for people to get together and have such a deep, deep conversations, I think. And that's so healing for people.
Beginnings, Kellee. Endings and beginnings. Originally, I thought about calling this soul transition retreat, but that sounds like someone's going to end their life.
Yeah, that's true. But it is during different transitions, and everybody's in a different transition. And
life is about movement, right?
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yes. Yeah. And always moving forward and shedding your layers.
Yeah. And that joy aspect, having that joy.
I love that. Joy. It's going to be great.
It's going to be great. So anything else? Let's see.
Well, if anybody wants to learn more about me,
you can
find me in a few different places. One, my website is always super easy. It's just SusanWhiteMovement.com.
SusanWhite.
Oh, here it is. Good.
There we go. SusanWhiteMovement.com.
Okay,
I am on the social media. So my Instagram is swhite.movement. And then I also have a YouTube page where I have probably 50. I do. I have like 50 different movement classes up there. Yeah. So it's just called Move with Sue. So if you
I like that. Move with Sue. Do the hustle.
I offer everything from yoga to Pilates to there might even be a dance class on there. I don't know.
We do dance a lot, too. By the way.
Yeah.
We're dancing at the retreat. Yeah. And I mean, you just one thing about you, so you love doing the work. You have there's a passion that you have.
Oh yeah. No, my mother put it well to me once. She said, I can see that this is not a choice. She's
wow.
compelled to do this. And so, I'm compelled to help people feel better in their bodies. I'm compelled to connect people together who I think should be connected. That is one thing that I I think I'm good.
You are good at it.
But yeah.
She's
I'm
a real
compelled.
healer.
Yeah.
And humble too. So we're good. That's July 9th, 13th. And if you're interested, go to eventpraagh.com. And thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Sue, it's great to have you on tonight.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's such
Yay.
a do these things that often, so it's
Yay.
very cool.
Hey.
Okay, we'll see you in Maui. Okay, bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.